Hello everyone, it is me, Tool, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make realistic terrain in Fortnite Creative. And before I get into it, please make sure you like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. There are many styles of terrain in Fortnite Creative, however, this is how I use it, so if you guys like this style of terrain, I'd highly recommend this video. Obviously, there is modular terrain BRs out there, one of them being Brim Royale, as I know. What I like to do is I like to build with the normal style terrain, uh, Shark Cliff, the snow terrain, desert terrain, and cave terrain. Here is how I do normal grass biomes. So we're gonna pull this piece from the Shark Cliff terrain, and I just enlarge it. What you want to do is like you want to get the terrain to a specific area where a floor can be placed. You don't want to have the terrain be above the ground like that, where it covers up your floor, because that could get in the way of buildings, exterior and interior stuff. Grid Snap 1 always has the right building, like always has the right grid to where you can actually like build on top of it. So if you need to, switch to Grid Snap 1, but immediately after, get back to 32. This is a small tip. When you're doing tedious stuff like this, switch to a slower flight speed. That could also help out a bunch. So like I said, switch to 1 first so you can get that the exact grid level for you to build upon. And I don't exactly build rough, although I highly recommend you build terrain roughly. I kind of build smooth, so as you can see right here, there's a couple like gaps in between. Here's what I do immediately after. I get the same terrain piece, I switch to 32, and then I just kind of fill in the gaps with the sides of the terrain. And then now, it's not exactly smooth, but it's not exactly perfect, and that's how terrain works in real life. You don't want it to be exactly smooth, and you don't want it to be so rough. So once you're done with that, we're just gonna build a little area, and applying the same rules that I have said, you're gonna continually do that for your plane. So I'm gonna speed build this little piece of terrain right here, and when I'm done, I'm gonna tell you what to do next. So now we're here to elevating your surfaces. Now with elevating your surfaces, like I said, or that has been previously stated, you would always want to go and switch back to Grid Snap 1 so it can fit the build level. So with this, like previously stated, you don't want, when it's elevated, you don't want your terrain to be like above the floor, you know, as previously stated. So switch to Grid Snap 1 so you don't ever encounter those. So what I like to do with the elevated terrain, there's obviously, you need a way to get up besides building. Like what if you don't have any materials, and what if there's no materials in the area? I would have certainly hoped there's materials in the area, but let's just say there's a scenario where there's not. That's where we get to the next terrain piece. I like to call this the elevation piece. Now, when you're doing this, make sure there's no gaps that, like, you can see outside of the terrain. See, if I like bring this out more, you know, there's gaps right there, and you kind of don't really like that necessarily. So what I do is that I kind of try to hide the gaps inside the terrain so that you don't see them. You're kind of gonna build a pathway that kind of leads up into an elevated surface. So once you have your elevated surface completed, you're not done just yet. You have to, what I like to do is that I like to take the same terrain piece. I like to angle it like where the back is pointing forward, and then I like to take it off grid, and then I like to kind of play around with it, and I will change the roll size and the what I believe is the pitch size to this, and I fill in the elevated surface that is being risen, or that is raised. Rise and shine. But yeah, when it comes to like these pathways, the elevated pathways, I would kind of tighten the slanted terrain up so it allows the players to get like path through, because you know you don't want an elevated pathway that you can't go through. But once you're out of that kind of area, make sure these things are notable, because it's just wasting memory if they're not. It kind of makes the terrain look a lot better, in my opinion. But once you're finished with that, and now we can start filling in our terrain. So for this, you're going to want this flat grass piece, okay? And what I like to do, I know some people will do this, but me personally, I would not do it. But some people, they kind of try to mess with the height of it to exactly fit the necessary terrain. Now, what I do is that I just um, enlarge it all the way. But there are some points where I will shrink it. I will show you guys in that in a second. I will enlarge it all the way. I'll bring it up just a little bit. Go on top. Take your grid snap off. Hop on top of it, and then once you take the piece of terrain, you'll fall down on the exact height that your other piece of terrain is on. So you kind of get that exact area to fill in, so you don't get stuff like this. Like,
pause! What is that?
so now we're at the place where some people could have problems with. So as you can see, we have my piece of terrain filled in, but the corner is poking out the side of my other piece of terrain, and we don't like that. Now, if we want nice terrain, we're gonna take this piece, bring it over just a little bit, and then mess with the depth. For this, oh, it's gonna be width, but in some scenarios, it will be depth, height, or width. So for that, just change the width, depth, or height if you wanna, get inside the terrain. It's also very important to check over your terrain to make sure you don't have stuff like this, because with this, people can get through your map and just cause a lot of problems for your map. Now, once you have all that finished, as discussed at the beginning, you're gonna want to get a shoreline piece. Now, you don't always need a shoreline piece. I would only recommend using it when it gets to water, or if you're making a savanna. But with the shoreline piece, it's not as difficult to use. Now, this is our little island of terrain we built right here, and for this, we're gonna put the shoreline piece all around it. So you might be asking, will the shoreline piece go up here? Not exactly. What you're gonna want to do is enlarge the entire piece first. Previously stated at the beginning, you're gonna need it to fit the criteria for the build level. So once that's finished, you can freely place your pieces of terrain all around your grass area. Now, with your shoreline completed, you have finally reached your island that you've built, and we're not finished exactly yet. What you're going to do now is, now we're going to populate this area with nature. Now, when it comes to nature, there's all sorts of forms of nature you can do, but for this video, I'm going to use these galleries. The customizable nature, the chapter 2 nature, and chapter 2 nature again. As you can see, for my new map that is coming out, I'm going to be using the customizable trees, but there are instances where you can use these trees. I just prefer these trees because there are different biomes in my map, and I would like to save memory by doing that. But if you don't want to save memory, you can always use these trees. But if you do want to save memory, you can use these trees, which allow you to customize the color of any tree, which will help out with like whatever parts are in your story. If there's any like storyline where the biomes are changing, you can obviously change your mind the tree to fit that biome. Now, when it comes to different biomes, for a plain biome like we've just built, you're going to want to use any sort of form of green. Now, for this, we're going to use a darker, a lighter colored green. That's kind of too bright. I wouldn't use that. It'd be like this. That's nice. For this, I like to take the grid snap off of the nature, and I like to mess with the size of the nature. This could, like, you don't want nature kind of like that. You know, you don't want nature like all scattered around, because that just kind of makes it look like no work was put into it. So what you're going to want to do is you're gonna just kind of want to move around with it and shrink the sizes. You know, you don't want to place like one in each section. Like, you don't want to have one right here. You know, make them close to each other, like if you really want to. Now, for the little trees, you can basically, what I'd like to do, I like to do as many as I can possibly do. So we're gonna get back to that nice green color, and well, not that big, but again, placing them around randomly. Now Now, when it comes to shorelines, you can also place nature around there. What I like to do for my shorelines is I like to use the pine trees. Pine trees, there's 3 different pine trees, or 4 different pine trees you can use. What I specifically like is the tall pine tree and this middle pine tree right here. I like using these, but I would preferably use the taller pine tree in more forest biomes. And if you guys would like to see me build a forest biome, just comment down below if you would like to see that. I can totally do that. As a matter of fact, any biome you want me to build in this video, I can do that for you. Just comment down and I will do it. Once you have that finished, you can grab the bush. Now with your bush, don't make I wouldn't put a lot of bushes around, just enough to where it kind of makes the biome a little more fun. Like, you know, you can hide in there. I mean, there's not as many bush campers as there was back in the day, but enough where you can hide in there. For rocks, you're gonna want to get out the modular rock gallery, not the buildable one, but just the template B. Because the buildable gallery is unbreakable, so with the template B, you can actually break these rocks. Now for rocks, I highly recommend you mess with the size and just kind of go wild with them. Like, place them anywhere you would like to. That done, you kind of have your little island right here, and this is kind of a nice looking grass biome, and it will work greatly to as a spawn island, a little island in a BR, or anything else. Now, if you have any areas like this, we're gonna move into the next part of the video. I'm just gonna make a little tiny tower. But with that complete, obviously you need some props inside the building to make it more fun to play in. Once you are done with your building, there is one obvious thing that is missing: props. For this little watchtower, I'm gonna go to the Weeping Woods gallery, as I found in the building, and I'm going to add some little stuff like this, like a chair, couch, some stuff you can break for materials. That is also very important when you're making a BR. If there's any other biomes you would like to see, please comment below what you would like to see. And it's been me, Optic Tilt, and I'll see you in the next one.